Hello Gibson players, this is Jim Deeming, fingerstyle instructor, coming to you with another mini lesson courtesy of JamPlay.com. Today we're going to talk about palm muting, which is a right hand technique that applies to several different styles, including fingerstyle, the way I play it, but it also applies to rock, blues, rhythm, jazz, you name it. Palm muting is a technique that you're going to want in your arsenal. And I know from talking to a lot of guitar students that at the beginning of their learning journey, when they cross that bridge and start to tackle palm muting, for some students it comes relatively easy, and for some of them it's kind of a challenge to even understand what's supposed to be happening, much less how to do it. So we're going to break it down into real simple chunks and get you going with it, and maybe give you a little taste for what it can do for your guitar playing. I can't give you the name of the person that said this, but a quote that I really like is when someone was talking about guitar playing, they said that your left hand is what you know and your right hand is who you are. And if you think about that in musical terms, playing the guitar, it's really true. You can read tablature and you can map out where your left hand actually needs to finger a song or a solo or the chords, but how that song actually comes across to the listener, how it feels to them, is driven almost entirely by the right hand. So you want to be able to do things that can change your dynamic. In addition to just changing the speed, you can change the groove, the punch, the feel of a song dramatically with your right hand. So let's look at what we can do with palm muting to accomplish giving your music a little bit more feel. It's a pretty self-explanatory term. Palm muting is really nothing more than taking the heel of your palm and laying it down on the strings fairly close to the bridge, to the extent that it starts to diminish or mute the sustain of the strings. Now what I mean by the sustain is after you strike a string, it will continue to vibrate for quite a long time until something changes. Either you move on to a different note, or you touch something and stop the ringing of that string. Palm muting is nothing more than having your palm down here either when you strike it or shortly after you strike it to minimize the sustain of that string. Now that's all there is to it, other than how you do it can give you a lot of different varieties. And the main things, the main parts of the technique that have an effect are how close to the bridge you are when you mute it, and then the other one is obviously how hard you press. If you're really bearing down on it, you're going to almost completely kill the sustain of a string or the ring of it to where it's almost a percussion instrument at that point, and that's not all bad at certain times. The lighter you go and the closer you get to the bridge, the longer it will ring, and it's up to you to learn to get the feel of how much and where it takes that pressure to accomplish the feel that you're after. So let's look at well, any fingerstyle guitar player has probably started with this. Everything is ringing all the way through 100% on that, and hopefully you want your guitar playing to go a little step beyond being dust in the wind, and you'd like it to feel like something else after a while. Total sustain, total ring through gets tiring pretty quickly. And so instead of alternating this, you could put your palm down on here fairly close to the bridge. I can still hear the pitch of those notes, but it's not ringing anymore. It's got a little thump to it. Now, the country feel may not be what you're after in that song, but you can do that on other songs where it is appropriate and get a more rhythmic feel rather than... Now neither one of those is good or bad, but both have their place, and what I'm encouraging you to do is explore what can I do to change things up down here. And again, it's the palm. Typically you're aiming for your lower three strings, the ones that maybe if you're playing fingerstyle are going to be the ones where your thumb is predominantly playing. If you're strumming, and you're chunking away on some power chords, you may actually be laying down on the strings as you hit them. Right? You can get a pretty aggressive, punchy sound with that. So I'm using this with fingerstyle on the lower 3 to 4 strings. Melody notes can still ring clear. Now, if you're a rhythm player or a flat picker, this still applies. If you're chunking power chords, you may actually have your palm already down on the string while you're striking them, and then let up to the extent that you want to hear the chord, and press down to the extent you want a snare drum. Okay, you can play with that balance and get different feels in there. When you're playing rhythm on open first position chords, you don't have much control muting with your left hand. On a power chord you can, or on a bar chord. I can mute it by letting go with the left hand. I can only partially do that on an open chord. But with this palm muting technique, I can get mute effect down there in that first position and control it again with the right hand. So in a nutshell, that's it. That's the basics of palm muting. It's not a secret society. There's no mystery to it. It's just a matter of, like most guitar techniques, something that you need to do trial and error and repetition on until you get it to the point to where your muscle memory has it in control and you can call it up on demand for the feel you're after. If you're interested in more lessons like this, or even more detail on this particular technique, please check us out on JamPlay.com. Thanks for watching.